Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Biblio Fitness. Hope everyone had a great weekend and a great start to another week. It is a beautiful Monday out here, and we're getting to the end of good old brothers Karamazov. Um, this book just continues to get better and better. It doesn't taper off at all. Um, these are honestly, the crucial moments, at least to me. I'm now gonna these next couple of videos are gonna be the highlight of what I really was looking forward to in relations to starting this book again. You know, just before I continue, I just want to give props to the great Fyodor Dostoevsky. He is an absolutely a literary genius, and I feel like at this point of the story, the way that he expresses himself, the way that these conversations flow, and just the vibe and the energy that you can feel through the pages and these critical conversations that are going on right now. It's just at this point he's just showing off how great he is. These conversations are so immersive, and you get lost, and you never want to put the book down, which is obviously great. So today is going to be discussing about Alyosha's visit to Dmitry the day before the trial. I want to go ahead and address something that I left out on the previous episode in regards to when the prosecutors were there interrogating Dmitry, was that they found a torn envelope with the seals and then a letter saying to my Grushenska, or to whatever, this is the money for you. Like, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but that was the nail on the coffin basically for Dmitry, because everyone thought that it was 3,000. He was blurting out for so long that he needed 3,000, and now it's torn up and left on the floor. He clearly didn't think through, and he just left the evidence there. So, and that was the point when he said that, when the prosecutor said that, Dmitry was convinced that it was Smerdyakov that killed Fyodor, his father. He yells that out. He got Superman, and he's like, dude, it has to be Smerdyakov. Like, I didn't even do that. Like, I didn't even know where it was. I didn't know where the letter was. It's like, but then they hit him like, didn't you know it was going to be under the mattress? And he should say it was going to be under the mattress when were discussing this earlier. And he's like, yeah, but that was just me guessing. That was just me lying. I didn't think it was actually there. I never searched, but the evidence is just completely overwhelming against him. But it's pretty obvious now that it's Smerdyakov. I don't know if it's because I've already read this before, so I already know how it goes, but it's becoming quite apparent. So Alyosha is meeting Dmitry. He meets other people before, but I don't care. So he goes, not that I don't care, but this is the part that I think is the most prevalent, at least to what I'm trying to get from this novel. So he goes on to, with Grushenska's like a completely changed woman now. She's slimmed down. She's much more joyful. She's much more pious. She's much more humble. She no longer harbors all those negative emotions. Like, these traumatic moments really change people, and they all seem to find God. They all, that seems to be the answer to the suffering that they are enduring, the suffering that they're going through in their lives. And as the book is continuously progressing, the philosophy and the answers that Dostoevsky is proposing, or the solutions Dostoevsky is proposing, is to the whole nihilism, to suffering, is God, is piety, is taking, the suffering of others, the love of others, and to love everyone. And so everyone goes through these transformations in the book, through these traumatic moments. They see clarity. You see the error of their ways. They understand that they were just being base, and they were just being sensualist, hedonistic, nihilistic fools. And finding God changed them in a great way, obviously, is Dostoevsky. But that is the same case that is going on with Dmitry now. When Alyosha first goes to the jail, he meets Rakitin, which is apparently continuously visiting him. He's visiting him quite often now. And Dmitry says that the reason he's doing that is because Ratikin wants to get into the department of criticism. He wants to be a critic. I mean, it makes sense considering how this guy is. And he wants to use the case of Demetrius to kind of launch his career in literature and all that stuff. And one interesting conversation that Dimitri and Ratikin says that they had, that Dimitri elaborates to Alyosha, was, hey, because Dimitri starts saying he feels bad for God because God is no longer going to exist. Chemistry and science and reason is starting to supersede religion. Religion is becoming obsolete to most people because, we feel like we're progressing past that and we no longer need such things. And Dimitri's question to Rakitin is, if there's no God, then everything is permitted. Like, how are we going to keep everything together? How are we going to have a future together? How are we going to get through this? The big argument there is that, us as a species, we need this one ideal that we can all get behind and we can all follow to make us more cordial, to make us more cooperative with one another and not kill one another. Because Dostoevsky's whole thing is that if you don't have God, if you don't have those ideals and the virtues that go with the ideals, we are just going to be following our reason. And in our reason, since pleasure, for example, feels good in our rational, dumbass minds, we're going to continuously chase those things because we no longer have the fear of punishment of the afterlife by choosing to do the wrong things, right? And Ratikin's big rebuttal is reason. Like, why are you worrying about that when you should be worrying about the common man and about bringing down food prices and changing, the laws for land and serfdom and stuff like that. And Dimitri rebuts with, he's like, yeah, you say that now, but when it's reasonable for you, when it's going to be advantageous for you, you are going to flip and jack up the prices again. That's just how you guys are, because it's reasonable. At the end, I'm going to make a video considering, actually discussing this at a later point, what to do with nihilism. Do we need piety? Is piety the appropriate response? Because I feel like it's not. I do think we should all be more compassionate to one another. We should love one another and we should help one another. But this ideal, this one truth has caused so many problems. But that's a conversation for another time, I suppose. So Dimitri relays that interaction with Ratikin to Alyosha. And Dimitri starts saying, oh, my head is going to roll. And Alyosha assumes that he's relating to that maybe Dimitri has given up on the trial. Like, he knows he's going to get convicted. He's going to get sent to hard labor or get executed or whatever the case may be. Like, he feels like there's no hope. And at first, Dimitri is extremely confused. He's like, what the hell are you even talking about? Like, that's not... But then he goes on to elaborate, saying, I know him. And, he feels bad for God and what I just talked about. And he goes on to talk about the hard labor. And he says that in this thunderbolt, that night of, the whole Fyodor's dad thing and Grigory, he became a new man. Again, the theme is through great tragedy, you find God, you find the right path. But it seems to be too late. He's going to have to pay for it. But he starts talking about, like, when he goes over there, he is going to think about the dream about the wee little one, about, taking on the suffering of others. And when he goes over there, he goes in saying that he's going to go in with the mindset that he's understanding that the convicts and the murderers over there also have a heart. And they're also capable to love and to live and to suffer just like him. And it's his job to help them, that in the suffering and the hard labor and down in the underground, in the darkness, you can resurrect yourself as a hero. You can resurrect a hero. You can become a new person. And how he starts talking about, like, he's going to sing secret hymns to God along with his peers, because he's going to do his best to get these guys on the righteous path and see God. Because to me, a lot of people find God, especially in these particular moments, is because you want to find a purpose for the suffering that you are enduring. That is the point of existentialism. That's always been the case, is you want to find a reason of why you're suffering. You don't want to suffer needlessly because you're just not going to get through life that way. But down in the underground and singing those secret hymns with those convicts, he's giving them hope. He's giving them, hey, look, I have the error of my ways, but now I see the light. And the suffering that I'm enduring is my atonement for my sins. That's very prevalent in Catholicism, that's very prevalent in Christianity, to crucify yourself, to take on your suffering, to take on the burden of your sins and pay for them. So that's the whole message being conveyed by Dmitri. And then he blurts out, because secretly Ivan has been visiting him, and Ivan did not want to tell Alyosha because they're planning an escape. Like, Ivan's planning an escape for immediately leave, but they first have to see what's the conviction going to be, right? But Dmitri can't hold himself. He's like, dude, I don't want to keep a secret from you. I want to know what you think. But then he goes on to elaborate on that. He's like, the thing is that I'll take the hard labor, but as long as I have Grushenska with me, if I don't have her, then I have no reason to keep going. I'm just going to bash my head in with a hammer. I don't want to go through that by myself. Like, I want to have a reason to go on, a hope. And Ivan is proposing to go to America, to escape to America with Grushenska. He's going to have like 20,000, like a 10,000 or some shit to do the escape and the trip to America with another 10 grand. Like, it's going to be a total of 30 grand being thrown in here for the escape and the trip to America for for Dmitri and Grushenska. But then Dmitri has this conflict of conscience that starts resonating in him, and he says it to Alyosha. He's like, but like, if I escape, then I'm escaping my atonement. I have been shown the way. I've been shown the path through these traumatic moments, and this is my opportunity to atone for my previous sins. Am I just going to run away and go to America full of vanity and go back to the way I was? Is that what I'm going to do? Is that the right thing to do? Or is it the right thing to do to serve my time and perform penance? And Alyosha just tells him, hey, look, you should probably just wait until the conviction. Like, he really has nothing that he can say to him. But, before he leaves, Dmitri goes to him and asks him very nervously, very frantically, hey, do you believe that I killed Fyodor? Do you believe I killed our father? Do you think I'm the murderer? And he goes on to say that he's very scared of telling Ivan because he sees in Ivan that Ivan thinks Dmitri is the one that performed the deed. And Alyosha tells him, hey, for never for 1 second did I believe it was you. I never thought it was you. Dmitri takes that wholeheartedly and is really grateful for that. But Alyosha feels bad within himself because he's like, damn, like, is he really in that desperate situation? Is he really that bad of a situation where he doesn't even think that I trust him, that I believe him, that he doesn't have anyone on his corner? So that's a very interesting conversation, this whole atonement, penance. It's become, these very, very Christian symbolism, I guess, or philosophy coming in more and more into play. And then after, he goes on to Katerina's house. Because during that conversation, Dmitri tells him, hey, can you please tell Katerina now to talk about their first meeting in which she bowed to him for the money to help her father. That is going to make her look bad, it's going to make him look bad, and we don't need any of that. And Alyosha goes on to Katerina's house, and on the way upstairs, Ivan is going downstairs. And during these past 2 months, Ivan has not really had any conversation with Alyosha. He seems to actually want to avoid him. But as he's going down, he's like, oh, you're going to see this girl. I don't suggest you do because she seems to be quite agitated. And then Katerina goes out opens the door. She's like, oh, Alyosha, come in. And Ivan, you better come back soon. You better come back. Please come back. And Ivan, after like a moment, follows Alyosha upstairs. And Katerina's like, oh, so what did Dmitri send you to me for? And he relays that please don't talk about the moment when she bowed to him and that whole dumb shit. And Katerina gets extremely agitated, and she's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know how I'm gonna act tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to be nice or I'm going to be mean. Like, she could really fuck Dimitri's case up. And she's a very spiteful woman, and she's like, oh, the wrath of women, I don't know how I'm going to behave, I don't know how I'm going to act. And it was your brother here that had me going to Smerdyakov and suggesting me that he was the parasite and not his brother and stuff like that. And I went to go see Smerdyakov, and I know it's media and stuff like that. And Ivan gets immediately mad and he runs out. And when he's running out, Katerina goes to Alyosha. She's like, bro, run after your brother. Your brother's not okay. Your brother's fucked up in the head. Like, he looks like he's going through some shit. Like, he looks very sick. And I'm gonna love the next episode after this, talking about good old Ivan. So Alyosha does run after him, and Ivan turns around and is like, what do you want? Like, did this girl send you here? She thinks I'm crazy. Do you think I'm crazy? And then he goes on to ask Alyosha a very important question. And he's like, do you think that you could tell when someone is losing their mind? Or can you tell when you yourself are losing your mind? And Alyosha's like, I don't think that's possible. I'm not sure, And then Ivan goes on to talk about, that he's what is it? No, I think Alyosha goes to him out of nowhere and talks about the whole murder, and he's like, hey, you didn't do it. Like, you didn't perform the deed. And Ivan's like, I know I didn't know who. No, I think he goes on to he goes on to ask Alyosha about the murder, and Alyosha's like, no, it wasn't Dmitry. And Ivan's like, well, then who do you think it was? And Alyosha responds with, hey, you know who it is. You know who. And he's like, what do you mean who? What do you mean you know who? Like, I know who it is. And he goes, and Alyosha apparently gets possessed by the spirit or whatever, by God, and goes to tell Ivan, hey, it wasn't you. I know it wasn't you, though. And I was like, I know it wasn't me, fool. Like, I know it wasn't me. Like, why are you telling me this? Like, or are you going crazy? Or you raving? And then Alyosha continues. It says, hey, look, I know that these past couple months you've been bashing yourself and you've been condemning yourself, saying that you are the only murderer. You are the true murderer in this whole thing. But I want to tell you that it's not your fault. God is telling me to tell you that you are not responsible for the death of our father. It's not your fault. And Ivan is shocked with fear. He's like, what do you mean? Like, how do you know this? Like, how do you know that I've been telling myself this thing? And he's like, were you hiding in the room when he showed up? Like, have you seen him talking to me? And I was like, what, who the fuck is he? Who is this he that you're talking about? And Ivan's just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with priests. I'm done with epileptic fools. I'm done with all you fools. This is our last moment. We're no longer going to speak to one another. And he walks off. And the next part is going to be absolutely fucking insane. Because everything is really coming to a head. And I know I've already spoiled that it's Smerdyakov, but the interaction between the upcoming conversations, there's 3 conversations that Smerdyakov and Ivan have that are very integral to the story. And honestly, reading that part yesterday is why I really have to give Dostoevsky his roses all the time. It's an absolutely astounding interaction. It's fucking great. But it's interesting. Ivan is now, feeling guilty, and he's starting to go crazy. If you read the book, you could kind of tell why. It's kind of obvious, but the elaboration that is going to happen now is going to really flesh it all out, flesh out the philosophy that everything is permitted, and now you're paying for those actions. You are paying for that philosophy. So it's going to be very fun. It's going to be extremely exciting. Because, at the end of the day, Dostoevsky's whole premise is, if you don't have God, you can't have virtues, right? Because the virtues themselves is the way and the path that puts you on in order to be the ideal, in order to get to that ideal. If you're in Christianity, then it's obviously the virtues placed within the religion of Christianity are the methods by which, if you follow them, you will be Christ-like. That's the whole point. But if you don't have those things, then everything is permitted, because there's no overarching philosophy or religion or whatever that everyone can get behind. And if you don't have that, then there's no point. Like, you could do whatever it is you want. You could do anything that is behooving to you and no one else. So all of that's coming to a head on the next episode. I feel like the next episode of Dragon Ball say no. But this book is an absolute pleasure, and it's really fun. And I'm really glad that I'm beginning to make these videos as well. It's really forcing me to really begin to comprehend, like really understand and comprehend and digest what is being told. And I'm kind of having to really be forced to really elaborate, like what are my opinions, really think about that and really ingrain it into my mind. So I'm really glad I started doing this. It's been a blast, and it's already changing. Like, I'm really becoming I can already see how it's changing how I'm looking at things, how I analyze stuff, and how deep I go down the rabbit hole. It's a joy. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. As always, love you all, guys. If you have any questions or any comments, if you're reading along, please feel free to let me know what you think, or if you have read it before, what you think about this amazing novel. I feel like I'm gonna go straight to Crime and Punishment after this. Dostoevsky fucking killed it with this book, and we're almost done. So it was a great ride, though. I mean, I'm not done yet. There's much to be discussed, but yeah, I'm trying to finish it this week, low key. I'm going to go balls to the wall this weekend, especially just to wrap it all up. So we can start on the next one. So love you all, guys. If you haven't made any gains, please do so. Don't forget to move, get the body moving, get the brain functioning, drink your water. Love you all. Peace.